You want to be a baobab processor. If that is indeed the case, you, my friend, have come to exactly the right place. My name is Gus Le Breton. I'm standing here in Kilifi on the coast of Kenya in East Africa. And I have been active in the baobab industry for more than 20 years. And this is a three-part video series about baobab processing, specifically designed for the first-time baobab processor to just show you the ins and the outs of this industry. So the first episode is dedicated entirely to understanding your market, because before you can possibly start producing and processing baobab, you really need to have a very clear understanding of what you're producing and who you are planning to sell it to, because without that understanding, you will never succeed. I guess the first question you would want to ask yourself is, why are you going into baobab processing? There are many compelling reasons to support an emerging baobab industry in Africa. Baobab trees are indigenous to Africa. They are found all over the continent. They grow in very dry areas, and they are remarkably robust and resilient to changing climatic conditions. Baobab trees, as many people have observed, will probably be the last tree in Africa to die as a result of climate change, because they are so resilient. Baobab trees are also hosts to a wide range of biodiversity. They play a critical role in the ecosystem. They also occur in many areas where dryland crop production is really difficult because the rains are unpredictable. Clearing trees to plant crops and then watching those crops die because the rains failed is not a very productive and enjoyable use of your time. Whereas harvesting baobab fruit is relatively easy, takes a lot less time, and is more ultimately environmentally sustainable, more tolerant to changing climatic conditions. So there are many reasons why starting a baobab business is likely to have social and ecological benefits. But is it going to be a viable business for you, the entrepreneur? Well, that is a very difficult question to answer. And of course, most businesses that start in any field never make it beyond their first year. So let's be honest and realistic about this. Nobody's ever got rich really from baobab production, but it is a significant opportunity that can benefit a lot of people and can make a viable business for you, the entrepreneur. But before you start, you do need to have a very clear understanding of which products you want to produce and which markets you would like to sell them to. So let's start by looking at the different marketable products from baobab. The most marketable of all the products are contained in the fruit, that woody, round, green pod. You crack it open, and inside there's a mixture of powder and seeds and this little red fiber, which we call the funicle. So all of those products are marketable themselves. The shells can be used to make arts and crafts. They also burn quite nicely and can be used to make a compost if they're milled up. The powder is well known as a superfruit, Africa's most famous superfruit. If you'd like to learn more about the health properties of baobab fruit powder, just check on the link here, or it might be there, or possibly up there, I'm not sure. That will show you some other videos about baobab fruit powder and all its health benefits. So that's the second product. The third product, which comes from the seeds, is the oil. And the oil is used in the cosmetics industry. It's not an edible oil, unfortunately, but it is used as a skincare product. And there are also many health properties associated with that. And then the final product inside the pods is that little red funicle, which you can swallow, but it's in solubles. But it is used to make herbal tea and a few other medicinal products and has very high nutritional profile. Apart from the fruit, there are also the leaves, which are produced in many parts of Africa as a relish, either boiled or fried or dried or eaten fresh. I like to eat them fresh, especially the younger leaves, really delicious. And they are very nutritious, and there are places in West Africa where the leaves are cultivated in kind of small baobab trees, a bit like a tea bush, specifically grown for their leaf production. The final product that you could be marketing from a baobab tree is the fiber from the bark. So the bark peels off in these fibrous strands, traditionally used both in medicine but also to make rope and material, decorations, kind of a rug or a carpet out of the fiber. It's quite a strong, hardy material. There are questions, of course, around sustainability of bark harvesting. Very unlikely that you will do long-term damage to the tree because baobab trees are very resilient, but it is something that if you were to go into that, you would probably need to understand a lot about the sustainability before you could do it. I am only focusing on 2 of the products of the baobab tree, the baobab powder and the baobab oil. Baobab powder will come in episode 2 and baobab oil will come in episode 3. Now, baobab powder or baobab oil, there are again different markets and different formats. So the first question is, are you going for an export market or are you going for a local market? Now, many people look on Amazon, they see the price of baobab powder when it's being sold in a 500-gram pack somewhere in North America, and they think, oh my goodness, I could get rich from selling baobab powder. Well, it's not really true. That powder has gone through a lot of processes and a lot of steps and many different players in the chain before it gets out onto the market on Amazon in the US, and the price that the consumer will pay for it is very far away from the price that you would get as the producer. You would also have to take your powder through a number of exhaustive quality checks. It's very difficult to sell baobab fruit powder on the export market that has not been organically certified, so you would ideally need to have taken it through all the rigorous process for organic certification. The food quality certification of a baobab powder production facility is also very high, so you would need to be able to comply with all the food safety standards to enable you to produce a powder that will be consumed directly as a raw food by a consumer halfway across the world many months after you produced it. So my recommendation for both the powder and the oil is to focus instead on the local market, because I think you will find it's a lot easier to get into. There's a lot less competition, there's a lot less regulatory hurdles, and the time between you first processing and producing some powder and then you receiving an income will be much shorter than if you send it off halfway around the world and then sit and wait for somebody to buy it. So I highly recommend you focus on the local market. The next question is, are you going to produce a raw bulk ingredient or a value-added finished product? Now, there are many different products that you can produce from baobab. So, for example, with the baobab powder is most commonly sold in, let's say, a 500-gram pack. The consumer takes it, they buy it on the supermarket shelf, they take it home, and then they mix it up themselves into whatever products they would like to make. You can include powder in a ready-to-drink beverage, a juice, or maybe a dairy product. It goes particularly well with yogurt or ice cream. You can put baobab powder into baked goods, biscuits, muffins, breads, sweetbreads. There's all kinds of products that you can produce which will add value to the baobab powder, but you always need to understand that as a food product, you will need to be able to ensure that you can produce that powder to a very high food safety standard so that that product is not going to perish on the shelf, not going to cause your customers to get sick after they buy it and consume it. If you cannot guarantee that you will be able to sustain those high food safety standards, I would instead recommend that you focus simply on the raw powder, and that raw powder can then be used and sold into the local market as a bulk powder. It also will be consumed raw. Baobab powder is very rarely cooked, although it is sometimes added into porridge. So you will need to make sure that it's clean, and I will describe that in the next episode of the processes. In terms of baobab oil, the value-added products, so baobab oil is primarily used in the cosmetics industry. It's a fantastic moisturizing product on the skin, either just as pure oil or perhaps blended in with some other ingredients to make some kind of a skincare lotion. Also sometimes used in the hair and in hair care products. If you are going to manufacture baobab oil into a finished product, you really need to make sure you know the cosmetics industry and how what drives a consumer to purchase a particular product over another product. It's not an easy business to go into. If you are selling a bulk oil or just pure oil, you don't really need to do that. So my recommendation would be that you just try to sell a pure oil in, let's say, a 100 ml bottle or a 200 ml bottle that's nicely packaged and presented to consumers for them to put on their skin, on their hair, and you focus on the local market somewhere around you, close to where you're producing, and just really try to develop and grow your customer base. Good service is, of course, the key to any successful retail business, and just follow that up with high quality production and you should be fine. So that is my very quick overview of the baobab industry and what you could produce if you were to go into baobab processing. If you want to dive deeper, have a look at episodes 2 and 3. The links are there or there or there, I'm not sure. And episode 2 is about baobab powder, episode 3 about baobab seed oil. I hope you enjoy it. If you like to find out more about other indigenous African plants, you can also check out my personal YouTube channel, which is African Plant Hunter. So I have had a fantastic time talking to you guys here. I'm off to crack out another 2 videos, so I will catch you later and probably see you in the next episode. Take it easy. Bye.